Hey, what's up guys, my name's Erupt and welcome back to another Destiny video. And in today's video, as you know, or if you don't know, I'm doing a series where I discuss the best tips and tricks to get past the Kingsfall raid. Currently, we have done the War Priest and now we are about to do Golgoroth in this video. And the next video, I was going to do the Death Singers, but I don't think that they're enough of a boss to make a video on. They only took about 5 or 4 minutes to defeat and they were really easy. It was just a simple rift explosion and then we just went ham on the heads. It's really simple, so that's just a little disclaimer for the next video, but we are going to be going straight onto Oryx after this video. So I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, remember to leave a like. But I'm going to go over now some of the tips and tricks that I can give you for this and cut down this raid boss as much as I possibly can. So as you know, Golgoroth is an ogre, and as an ogre, Golgoroth is going to pack in some really big damage hits, so you do not want to be caught by this guy, and that is why they provide of cover for you and your fire team. So as you know, when you first walk into this room, there's going to be a little bubble hanging on the ceiling, and that's exactly what's going to start off this boss fight. So once you shot that down, obviously it's going to fall into the ground and Golgoroth's going to come up, and then there's a few things that you should know about what's going to happen next. If you look behind Golgoroth, or if you haven't got time to, I'm just going to tell you anyway, if you look right behind him, there's this big rune or little statue that's coming out of the ground, and it has 6 symbols on. Those 6 symbols account for every time that one of your fire team die. And once it gets to 3, Golgoroth becomes enraged, and you really don't want that because that's when Golgoroth becomes very strong, and that is when the raid becomes a bit harder. Just a lot more things that you need to focus on, and it just becomes a bit of a stress pool that you really don't want to bring on yourself. So try and stay alive and use that cover to your best advantage. Another thing to mention is once that gets to 6, that's actually the point in which you all wipe out and you have to start that boss fight again. You don't have to start the raid again, don't worry about that, but just make sure it doesn't get past 3 because that's when it gets really hard. So next, let's talk about the actual people in this raid. You're going to need one person that is going to take the gaze, because as you know, there is a big critical spot on the back of Golgoroth. If you look in this gameplay, then you'll see there's this massive brain looking thing, and if you're a Destiny player, you're kind of familiar with what looks like a critical spot and what doesn't, but this is obviously one of those big critical spots you're going to want to be hitting. And there is a second one, but that is all to do with what happens next. So you're going to have 5 people ready to just unload their weapons into Golgoroth, and you're also going to have another person that is going to be the guy that takes Golgoroth on. He doesn't literally have to fight Golgoroth, but what he does have to do is, whilst the fire team have his focus, not technically taking his gaze, but when they have his focus and he's aiming at them, the person who needs to take the gaze of Golgoroth needs to run to his back, shoot him in his back and get a critical spot. If you look in the bottom left of your screen, then you should notice that it says that Golgoroth is focusing its gaze on one of the fire team. Now that fire team, if you look at what I do throughout this gameplay, it was obviously my job to be the person who takes the gaze of Golgoroth because it's my first time and I was kind of on ads duty. Then I run into this corner and I shoot these little poison balls that he shoots at me, and these poison balls, if you get maybe 2 or 3 of them, then they kill you. That's just simple as that. So you need to kind of dodge them, and you can shoot them out the sky. They're kind of like the Cabal use, the Taken Cabal. So you got to shoot them and make sure you don't get shot by them. So obviously once that's happening, your fire team have got another job to do. They've shot a ball down as you've taken its gaze, so you have to do that kind of at the same time. The rest of the fire team has to shoot a ball down right in front of Golgoroth. You can use the other balls, but it's just better if you all use one. Once you shoot that down, it should drop and create a little shield. Obviously the person takes the gaze, runs into the corner, and then the 5 other people in the fire team jump into that shield whilst the other person's taking on Golgoroth, and then those people in the shield have to just shoot into the stomach of the ogre or Golgoroth and just unleash all of their weapons into him and put as much damage in. This should take about 4 to 5 times of doing this. It sometimes messes up, and if you don't do enough damage, it can get really hard. Obviously the more ads you deal with, the more you're going to die, and then quite a lot of the time you're going to unleash its rage halfway through just by not putting enough damage in. So you got to make sure all of your fire team maybe have an LMG or a very high impact hand cannon and scout rifle, and just really push as much damage into Golgoroth as you can in the short space that you have. Another thing to note is for the person that takes the gaze of Golgoroth and hides in the corner, there's going to be a little timer in the bottom left of your screen. Sometimes I accidentally ignore this because I have to focus on the poison balls. That's another thing to know. It's kind of hard to focus on 1 and 2, so make sure that you're keeping an eye on how much time your fire team have just to keep them alive, and how much time and the poison balls that are headed your way as well. So you got to kind of multitask as the gaze person. You got someone shooting at you and a timer to look out for, but your fire team is doing the main important job here, so you got to keep them safe. And once that timer does run out, maybe tell them on about 3, 2, 1 to jump out, because if they don't jump out in time, Golgoroth's probably going to slam the ground with his melee and just wipe out your entire fire team. And let me tell you guys, that is something that you do not want to deal with and bear the burden of in your fire team. It can get kind of frustrating because this raid does take quite long if it's your first time. I believe it took us about 4 hours because it was our first time, and we had at least 2 people that it was their first time. So it's kind of wipe after wipe after wipe, and that's just when your whole fire team dies, so you can perfect it in the next one. one. And the next thing I should mention is the best time to start all this process where you shoot the shield down, the little ball in the ceiling, and get the gaze of Golgoroth. The best time to start this is actually after killing the ads. They won't progressively keep coming as you're fighting him after you've started the sequence. So just make sure you kill all the ads, do this sequence, and then they'll respawn and you gotta jump out again. Never do it when you've got ads in the middle trying to fight you, because it's just not gonna work out. They're gonna come into your shield and they're gonna start destroying you, and that's not something you want to deal with. Also, I think halfway through, the Taken Thrall come, and they're kind of harder because they stick around whilst you're doing this process, so you have to have the guy that's taking the gaze of Golgoroth also on ads duty at the same time, or maybe put someone in that shield on ads duty on the bottom floor as well. So that's really helpful if you have 2 people at that stage focusing on ad duty. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy the tutorial I just given you, and look at the gameplay in the background now, because you're going to see the loot that I get. It's a pretty nice 303 chest piece, and you can get other things from this. I do believe there's obviously a big variety of loot that you can get. I was just quite unlucky on this raid, as I may have mentioned in my previous video, but if you want to see the previous video, there will be an annotation on screen right now. So guys, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share this on social media for more Destiny tips, tricks, news, and updates in the community. My name's been Erupt, and have a great day.
1, 1, 3, 4.
3, 2, 1, hey.
One.
Always try to shoot this. Pray with me. Pray with me. Yay! I got some good things. I think. Really? Oh wow. 303.